Hello, welcome to Meta Perfume. I am Emily, here again today with Twixie. She is sleeping, sort of. And today I'm going to continue my series on the Fantasy range by Britney Spears. I have today Sheer Fantasy to go over. I have been saving this box to do the review for a long time. This is a newer release in the Fantasy line, and let's just get into it. So I like this one. I think this one is very true to the Fantasy range generally. It's like a true flanker. It's not like different in, I mean, it's got the DNA of the original Fantasy for sure. And I'll go over the notes right up front, and then we can compare them to the original Fantasy, because I bought both Fantasy Naked and Fantasy Sheer, at the same time, and the bottles are kind of similar. I thought they would be similar, but Fantasy Naked has a lot different notes. Like, there isn't a lot of overlap between the notes in that and the notes in this. And this one, there's a lot of overlap between the notes in the original Fantasy and this, but this is a lighter, more stripped down, I'd say more springy version of this, I guess. I'd say the original Fantasy is better in a cooler temperature, maybe at nighttime. I think people do wear it all year round, or even in warmer weather, but because of some of the heavier notes, like the cupcake and the chocolate and the jasmine, that I think makes it a little bit more well suited to colder. Whereas this, let's go over the notes. So the top notes are citruses, water, lychee, and quince. The top in the original Fantasy are kiwi, red lychee, and quince. So just one difference, the citruses, water is now there instead of the kiwi. And then the middle, we have water lily and lily of the valley, and those are not in the original Fantasy. Those are two floral notes that I think are a little bit lighter. The original Fantasy also has two floral notes. They have orchid and kiwi. Orchid, to me, I'm not sure what orchid smells like, honestly, on its own. I think it's sort of like a drier, not a super sweet floral note. And the water lily is also sort of a dry note, but I know I really like that it's got kind of a fresh, watery quality, I guess, as the water lily. And then lily of the valley, one of my favorite fragrance floral notes. And then the base of this is cupcake, like the original, which actually they put cupcake in the mid in the original Fantasy, but base is cupcake, white musk, or iris, and woodsy notes. So iris is also in there, I guess, instead of the orchid. And then the woodsy notes is the same between both. This has white musk, whereas the original says it has musk. I don't know, maybe they're the same, they just don't have the same description on Fragrantica, not sure. But the base is similar, although with the iris versus orris root in the base of the original, I'd say it also makes it just slightly lighter. So maybe they put less of the base in and more of the middle and the top in, just a little bit. The citruses, water, it's definitely got a little bit of citrusiness, like slight. It's interesting that it's not citruses as a note, but it's citruses, water, which kind of lends to the overall lightness of the fragrance, I guess, the springtime, maybe summertime quality of this. So I'll spray it, and then I'm going to put both of the Fantasy and the Fantasy Sheer notes next to each other so you can kind of see. Very similar, same notes. They have lychee, quince, cupcake, floral notes, but they're different floral notes. musk is the same, woodsy notes are the same. There is no white chocolate in Fantasy Sheer, no orris root, no orchid or jasmine, and no kiwi. So they've kept the DNA, but they've made it lighter. They've made it fresher. And it does have a really pretty fresh opening. And sometimes to me, quince can get to be a little bit, I don't know, weird, for lack of a better word. But I think it's nice in this. Yeah, the opening is really pretty. I'll go spray. So I give you a little update now that we've kind of delved into the Fantasy Sheer. I finished with my 6 rounds of chemo that I had at the beginning of April, which is this month. It's the end of April now. It is cold in Los Angeles this weekend. It is like high of 60, so that's why I've got my little fuzzy on. And you know, the nights it's getting down to like the mid 50s, low 50s, I think. So it's a little cold. This is nice though. But I am feeling much better. I'm feeling like, you know, all of the chemo symptoms have kind of worked their way out. Those seemed to last for about 2 weeks. They would start about 2 or 3 days after each infusion of chemo medication, and they would last for about 2 weeks until they kind of subsided. And they were pretty bad for those 2 weeks. I mean, you lose your sense of taste is really impacted, which kind of diminishes your quality of life in a lot of ways. And not being able to enjoy the taste of water was a shock. You know, I went to a store that carries a lot of different varieties of bottled water, and I got like, I don't know, 15 different kinds of bottled water, just trying to find something that didn't taste as gross to me during that phase when my taste buds were really messed up after each round of chemo. I finally found one. I think it was like Sedona water, and I found the larger ones in a glass package, so I got some of those towards the end, and that helped. But you know, just food generally, especially saltier food, didn't taste very good. And I know I'm not supposed to be eating very much sugar, but the sweet things tasted better. So then I'm eating more sweets, then I'm feeling more guilty. Of course, the chemo also messes a little bit with my vision. It would make things a little bit like my long range vision was kind of blurry. That seems to be improved some. I did a fast on Friday. I'm starting a fasting kind of regimen in my diet plan. So I'm calling it like food-free Fridays, but you could also say fasting Fridays, and like just starting to have basically green tea, and I had like a teaspoon of apple cider vinegar in the evening, and a few of my supplements, like my turmeric supplement, but just mostly green tea throughout the day from Thursday night at 8, and then I'm not eating anything really solid again until Saturday morning at 8 a.m. So 8 p.m. on Thursday, 8 a.m. on Saturday. And that, I think, is feels good. If I didn't really get any headache. I was a little hungry during the first part of the day, you know, kind of lunchtime, you start to get the normal hunger, but that's okay. When the chemo symptoms are happening, like I never got, I mean, I would say queasy is like a mild form of nausea. I wouldn't say, nausea seems more extreme to me. I wouldn't say I was ever super nauseated, but I was queasy a lot, and queasy especially if I hadn't eaten in a while. So instead of getting hungry, I would feel queasy and know that I needed to eat in order to make that stop. So that was also kind of a unpleasant thing, but that generally seemed to get less. The duration that would happen was maybe 5 to 7 days, and as I went through the rounds of chemo, it seemed like my body adapted a little better each time, so the negative side effects were a little bit less. The mouth sores that I got, super bad at the beginning. They did come back. They actually came back a little bit worse after the last round, and I had to go back and get another round of antivirals to kind of mitigate those, because those were debilitating after the first round. But after that, they got a little easier. I ended up taking 3 courses of antivirals over the course of the chemotherapy to deal with the mouth sores. And there was a couple rounds where I just got like maybe 1, and those were the good rounds. So, you know, constipation, diarrhea, those things were about a 1-week period of the 2 weeks. My skin would get like really broken out with like pussy little pimples that were pretty bad, and my skin generally would be pretty bad. Obviously my hair fell out, nose hair fell out, eyebrow hair fell out. These are drawn up. But you know, I got through it. And you just have to think to yourself, like, this doesn't kill me, but the thing that it's treating can, so I'm doing it, and I'm dealing with it, and it's only temporary, and this hair will grow back eventually. It's trying. I think you can see it's like a little fuzzy still. I think it might take a few more weeks, but generally I'm feeling pretty good. You know, I'm just trying really hard to take care of myself. I traveled this month, and while I was traveling, I didn't really bring much of my supplements, my daily supplements that I usually take, like, I don't know, lots of things. So, and I also was eating kind of crappy because I was traveling. So by the end of the week-long travel, I did like a few days in Las Vegas and a few days, like 4 or 5 days in Michigan. I got back and I had depression symptoms, like very clearly depression. And I was like, whoa, this is not good. But I started back into my normal dietary routine, and the symptoms were gone the next day. So, you know, this whole week I've been kind of back into my normal rhythm and feeling better each day, and yeah, getting back into the routine of going into my normal day job, which, you know, all kind of lends itself to just feeling better, being able to film. So yeah, thank you all for tuning in. This is Fantasy Share again. I would say, you know, if you like the original fantasy and you want something lighter, or you didn't like the original fantasy and you wanted to try this, it's similar, which, you know, that's a very popular, obviously it spawned over a dozen flankers and still creating flankers to this day off of that fragrance. I don't think it's just the bottle, although the bottle does help. Bottle's pretty cool. But yeah, this one, I'm gonna say, you know, you would really like this probably if you like that at all. And also, it's good for summer. It's good for spring. It's definitely, I think, more mature. It's not, I wouldn't call it mature, but it's like without the white chocolate and the heavier cupcake. I think that they dialed the cupcake down in this. I think it gives it a little bit less youthfulness, if that makes sense. So yeah, Fantasy Share is nice. Thank you all for tuning in. If you could give us a like, leave a comment, subscribe, that would be fantastic. I will try to respond to everybody's comments, and I appreciate you all, and I'll see you in my next video. Thank you. Bye.